Okay, Randy. Uh,
Yes.
yes, we're here, everyone, with another Jazz Matters podcast. And we have here in the studio with us the great Randy Skinner, the audacious, the best out there with a trumpet player the world has ever seen. So, Randy, we also have with us Von Coulter with Jazz Beats Radio, and which is a connection with the iHeart Radio's networks. So everybody, now that I have now that we have a new president, I got a new face. Randy, I had this Grizzly Adams beard,
Okay.
and, and so I took it off. But once we got another president, I decided to grow my old face back, you know.
All right.
But
You're
anyway,
looking good, brother. You're
hey
looking
man,
good.
that's cool. So Randy, for everyone that doesn't know, um, can you just let us know who you are, where you know, in your travels and so forth, and how you got started in this music business.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to this podcast. Uh, Yourself and the co-host, or whichever one of you are the co-host. Thank you
Well, we're
both.
both of us.
We
All
shift
right.
back and forth occasionally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I want to thank you for that, and also thank you for the great introduction of the greatness and all that I'm not feeling worthy of, but
I know I know how modest you are,
I guess I'll go with that today. That makes
Yeah, cool.
How I got started. I started as most aspiring musicians in the public school system in Portsmouth, Virginia, a little town in Portsmouth, part of the Tidewater area, Portsmouth, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads. And I got started in the junior high school system playing trumpet, and continued on in high school, and I received a partial scholarship to attend Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina, and graduated from there with honors as a music education major. And then I went on from there to Boston, to Berklee School of Music. Berklee School of Music opened up a whole brand new world musically and jazz-wise, because in Portsmouth, Virginia, and probably like a lot of people's small hometowns compared to Boston, New York, music-wise, they were kind of limited to what they were exposed to musically, like I was. So when I got to Berklee and Boston, there was so many great musicians from so many different parts of the world studying musician. There were places to go to see live music. And jazz is a term that's kind of thrown around kind of loosely. But when I think about it, I think about friends that I met along the way that became their personal friends, like jazz greats like Freddie Hubbard was a dear friend of mine up until his death. We stayed in touch by phone. I would see him and hang out with him in clubs between Boston and New York. The great Eddie Harris, Dizzy Gillespie, Johnny Griffin. I just saw so many Bostons, like Boston, New York. I'll put it that way, because they're like brother, sister cities when it comes to real jazz music.
Oh yeah. Now I understand that well, because when I was up at Boston, it was the same experience, and it's like there were so many musicians there that were so great, and even there was even a lot of students there that were really good musicians. But
Absolutely.
and as a matter of fact, I think the last time I was up in that area was about 3 or 4 years ago. I had to go back up in there, and a lot has changed, since I was there. And it's just a it's probably one of the best cultural music hubs that I've ever seen in the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is, you can be exposed to the things that you want to do as well as the things that you need to do. You know what I'm saying? As far as
Yeah,
being an instrumentalist, and there's no shortage of it. That's the good thing. You cannot get bored for
that's
whatever
true.
reason. But Randy, since that, and you've been here in the Atlanta area for a while now,
Yes,
uh, and you do have a project out uh, with your group. And can
yes,
you elaborate a little more on that?
yes. I am a strong jazz aficionado, but I do lean more towards the R&B side, the smooth jazz side, the funky side, being that I am a former P-Funk All-Star from George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic. I have a CD out that features my dear friend Fred Wesley from James Brown Group, and a lot of people don't know, but Fred Wesley actually played with Count Basie's group at one point too. He's just that kind of musician. A lot of people know him as Funky Fred, but he did play with Count Basie and numerous other jazz groups. So he came in and with the fellows, with Skin Tones in Pursuit is the name of the CD, Skin Tones in Pursuit. And the CD, it featured a lot of great jazz musicians, my friends around town. Jeff Waugh on percussion, Leonard Julian, who was a great vocalist. He did some vocal work on it and played baritone saxophone on it. Alexander Walk, a great great flautist and a great saxophonist playing on it. And let's see who else was on it. Reggie Ward on guitar. We had the bass player. I can't think of the bass player name right now. Nasheed was on bass. So yeah, it was a really good project. It went. They played it in rotation on WCLK, and there was the guy in the UK, DJ in UK, Brian Hurst.
Mm-hmm.
Great jazz station too. Brian Hurst, soul and jazz.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he blew it up in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, man. Because I know that I've seen you guys in performance as well as work with you on other projects every now and then, Randy. Now, as far as like you were saying, with your background coming out of Berkeley, but leaning more to the R&B side of the music, I find that to be a very strong. It's a very strong tool that a lot of musicians that go to Berkeley and other schools that have great music programs, they tend to do that anyway, and that's basically because of the radio culture. Uh, at one point back in the day, you could find a lot of jazz radio stations that did straight ahead jazz,
Yes.
and then it all seemed to like wither away. We lost a lot, just about all of them, So the public ear has changed, and
Yeah.
the audience has changed, and it is leaning more towards an R&B. I would say an R&B based uh, groove type of music uh,
Mm.
versus the improvisational straight ahead type of music. Now, do you have any like for the musicians that are out there now, the younger musicians that are coming around? They all seem to lock right into the R&B because I guess that's what they're exposed to mostly.
Yes.
But do you have any advice for them as far as a musician to how to actually get inside of even the R&B form of music to expand it, which will take them right back to the straight ahead? And a lot of them, they don't really listen to straight ahead in that with that depth, you know what I'm saying, that you would get like if you was at a place like Berkeley and so forth. You
Yeah.
got any advice for them to become you know, a better or more well-rounded musician? Because I've run
Yeah.
into a lot that seem to think that straight ahead is for another generation, you know,
Hmm.
and I find that kind of troubling to me, you know, to not have them not really understand the significance of the originals or the real innovators of jazz, to
Yeah.
just kind of like skim across what they do. Either, you know what I'm saying? So what kind of advice can you give younger players or even some older players that are doing jazz uh, music now? What kind of advice can you give them as far as expanding that uh, repertoire?
Well, the journey of being a musician, any type of musician, is a lifelong journey, and you have to be open to all types and all genres of music. The great Duke Ellington, a true jazz musician, he said there's two types of music. There's good music and bad music. So that would mean a vast array of different types of music that you can listen to. I remember coming to Boston. I came from playing in a funk type band in Virginia, and I was in the jazz band at Shaw University, and we had a jazz festival and we met some new, Donald Byrd was at the jazz festival too. And that was my first introduction to him and meeting Donald Byrd personally. And there was some other great jazz musicians there. Freddie Waits, an incredible drummer. Slide Hampton was there. So to young, aspiring or old, aspiring musicians, I would say to just keep your mind wide open. What I did, I was immediately attracted to WBGO when I got to Boston. I mean, and out of New Jersey, that's like one of the greatest real jazz stations in the world.
Mm-hmm.
BGO, um, you know, and it depends on where you live in your local stations. You know, WCOK. They were the first one that broke my CD, so I enjoy listening to COK, and especially with the social media and the YouTube and live streaming. And in fact, some of my friends did a great live stream out of Houston, Texas. Uh, they did a tribute to Buhana, Art Blakey, the Jazz Messengers. My friend Frank Lacey was leading the group, and it had an all-star cast. Bobby Watson, one of the Jazz Messengers alumni, and Valerie Palomari. I always can't pronounce his name, but a great trumpet player. And it was a really, really good live stream. There's so much stuff out here that can keep you inspired as a young or old musician.
Right. I think that now with our platform that we have at Jazz Matters, we're basically trying to keep that culture and that platform open to the younger musicians as well as the more seasoned musicians. So the problem that the city has is that they don't have that type of platform anywhere. You know, you can't really just name a platform that supports just straight ahead. The only platform that did that was where I was working down at Dante's down the hatch. That's the only place in the city ever to do just straight ahead. And of course, you know, I've been there, played down there for over 23 years. So the
Yeah.
thing is, when I came out, it was like a whole different thing. I had to reinvent myself, believe it or not, and then try to keep the culture going, because that's the main reason I started Jazz Matters. So
Mhm.
with groups like yours, the Skin Tones, see like this year before COVID, see you guys were on the list to perform in one of my outdoor events. You see, and
Yeah.
then I had a lot of the local people really poised to do that. But of course, it is what it is, and COVID came and wiped it all out. But now what we're doing is trying to keep the platform going. So we're going to do some virtual stuff, and we're
Mhm.
going to have some virtual concerts coming in very soon, probably starting next month, as a matter of fact. We're going to have a lot of that, and we'll be glad to see the Skin Tones be a part of that. So
All right.
if you know that like on the scene here, uh, what would you guys uh, do right now? Are you doing any social, or what are you doing right now? Are you doing any kind of social events that require stringent stuff like the distancing and all that? Have you guys been working at all?
No, we had, like most musicians, we had a lot of things that was canceled, you know, and just like yourself, and even the what you were just proposing for Skin Tones, all of that stuff got pushed to the side.
Right,
But we're staying, encouraged, and we're staying in the studio. We're doing stuff in the studio, working on, another CD,
right.
slowly but surely.
And what kind of, give us a little sneak preview of what kind of stuff you're doing on this one that may be
Uh,
a little different from the other.
it's gonna be kind of what we call jazz funk. Uh, it's not really jazz, not really funk not really R&B, but jazz funk.
Okay,
Similar, gonna be similar stuff to Skin Tones in Pursuit.
okay. All right, cool. Vaughn,
Yes.
with Jazz Beats Radio will be glad to check out all of that info. And Vaughn, do you have any questions for Randy?
Um, Randy, I can't say enough what it is a pleasure to have you here with us
Thank
today. Um,
you for having me.
and I feel as though right now, just listening to where you've been and what you studied and where you are now with the music, you're a true bridge to that that circumvents that gap, you know, um, of what the music was when you started and where it is today. And you expressed your deep relationship with Freddie Hubbard. And I looked at Freddie in my understanding of what his music sounded, what it was to me during the late 60s into the 1970s, and how he would keep evolving his sound as a trumpet player. And
Yes.
he almost, he also was that bridge that crossed over into that fusion sound, that 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 sound that made that transition into the 80s at the advent of what smooth jazz is. At its beginnings, it was called the Quiet Storm, you know, a
Yeah.
radio station by the name of WHUR out of DC coined that phrase, and it became a format for radio
Yeah.
for
I remember.
many years. So, now it's transformed now, and then you have all these young trumpet players coming out. Um, Elon Troutman, a few others, Willie Bradley, who I've had the pleasure of interviewing on my radio station. And it's
Mhm.
just like they really have captured a certain level of playing ability, but the only thing that's missing is the improvisation part. And so, but yet still, the music travels. The music has that, it has that groove, like you said, and to
Yes.
me, where you come from, you're that bridge to that space in between people understanding how both genres are the same thing. You know what I'm saying? They're built out of soul, you
Yes.
know, and your group, Skin Tones, has that, you know, I feel like it's on a mission to continue that essence that, you know, is no longer present in today's music on a small scale. It's still there, but it's not as prevalent as it used to be in the past. So I just want to say thank you, man, for being that bridge. And I try to do the same thing on Jazz Beats Radio in showing people that it's all interconnected. It's all interconnected, and it can't be separated, you know. And one is rejuvenated the sound that is the essence of what jazz is. Now, like you said, it's been thrown around a whole lot. and I just kind of put it in perspective where jazz ain't nothing but soul. And I live under that motto. I have been for the last 10 years.
Yes, indeed. You're absolutely correct. It ain't nothing but soul. I mean, and you mentioned Freddie Hubbard, you know, bridging, you know, that gap, you know, between straight ahead and soul music. I was privileged to hang out one night in Boston on a concert with Freddie Hubbard and Stanley Tarantino.
Mm-hmm.
And the performance was totally phenomenal. And just hanging out with them backstage was even more phenomenal because they were just like two high school buddies, you know. And Stanley Tarantino also was one of the great musicians that, you know, there was a straight ahead player that also did, you know, soulful stuff too, you know.
Right. And both of them were part of that CTI family.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I've come to the conclusion that record label had more to do with the creation of that sound that exists today than any other record label I can compare to. CTI, that was it. That was it.
Yeah. My older brother introduced me to CTI. And then later on, you know, I found out, you know, who Creed Taylor was and all of that. You know?
Right.
And into it, but he was my first introduction to it because he started listening to, you know, the CTI stuff, and I was like, okay, yeah, George Benson, you know, Freddie Hubbard, you know, First Light, you know,
exactly,
California Dreaming, I can get with that,
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of people when you were talking about CTI, a lot of people that we tend to like Grover and people like Grover Washington, and believe it or not, there were people like Ron Carter that was actually playing electric bass in some of those CTI sessions. And a lot of people had never heard of him or thought they'd never heard him play electric bass. But when you think about it, he did a lot of that stuff on electric bass, you know, until he decided, you know, well, he didn't want to, you know, compete with the electric bass anymore. But the thing is, they had a ton of musicians and they were always into that. It used to remind me a little bit of, you remember King Curtis and those type of musicians, King Curtis. And those performances that they did, that sound kind of reminded me a lot of the stuff that they were doing, you know. And I think that when it comes to your sound with your band now, it also brings back a whole lot of the memories of the CTI days and the days where, you know, at the transformation going into what they used to call fusion. And so all that is real present right now today. And it's funny to me in a lot of ways because I was there in the fusion mix. And the thing is, to see it where it is now, it reminds me more of, like you said, what Freddie was doing when he was doing like First Light and so forth. That's what I hear in a lot of the stuff today, you know. So we were really ahead of the curve, so to say. And it just took you know, once it was not popular anymore, it regained its popularity, you know, once the the record companies started fading out.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do, like I said, here with Jazz Matters, there's a lot of stuff we have on the burner, and like I said, with groups like yours and the sound that you have, we definitely look forward to, working with you guys and making sure that you have a platform whenever you need a platform to work, whenever you need a platform to do stuff. Because you know as well as I do how hard it is here in town to really do that. And
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of it's because there are so many places that just don't exist anymore, and we're really working that out to try to make that happen again. Now, as far as you also do, you're an educator,
Yes.
and you teach music in was it the public schools or the colleges or both?
I've taught in Boston public school system as a music educator, and some in DeKalb County schools. Right now, I'm teaching online with music and arts. And when you were talking about, bridging the gap, we were talking about bridging the gap between, younger aspiring musicians. I had a African American young girl in high school, and she's a good trombone player.
Mm.
And what I do is I try to introduce all of my students to someone renowned that's going to turn the light on for them, just like it did for me. So I introduced her to the great Melba Liston.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
and she had no idea that, there was a woman playing, much less an African American woman playing trombone on that level,
Right.
Melba Liston, and I got introduced to that stuff early in life, when I went to Boston and Berkeley. Melba Liston, Randy Weston,
Right.
I saw there was so much music that I had no idea existed before coming to Boston.
Right. And that's like I said, once you was in that environment up there, it's like sky's the limit. There wasn't much you could miss, musically. Even contacting or being introduced to certain musicians. I remember being introduced to Ben Riley, Buster Williams, and all those cats up there back in the
Mm-hmm.
day when I was there. And
Yeah.
the experiences for growth, it was so great. It's like you never want to leave there, simply because of that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it is what it is. And now, Randy, as far as right now, some of the people that you're working with on your new album,
Mm-hmm.
are they the same group, or are you kind of mixing up a little bit, with your personnel?
No, I generally stay with the same group. I have a wonderful group of guys, and I generally stay, with those guys because we know each other, we feel each other. It's just like when you go and see a performance of any genre, musicians, that are together, and I want to say congenial in so many more ways outside of music, like they're old buddies or something. The music tends to be better. The feel of the music tends to be better. When I think about this, I remember I went to Cobb Energy Center to see Harvey Mason and Foreplay before the pandemic and all. And I mean, and I ain't never seen those guys. I always loved listening to them, and I mean, you can tell the vibe of the musician because, they were, I want to say musically and spiritually connected with each other. It made the music so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and that's a great point. Simply because that's the way groups, when you go see groups such as Foreplay, you could tell that there's a lot of years there there's a lot of respect there for each other, and that's why when they interpret and when it sends into the music, it sounds like almost like it's coming out of the mind of one person. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Yes.
So the thing is like that's when you really know that you can depend on a musician, and you pretty much understands that he understands or she understands exactly what you want to hear, you know,
Yeah.
and they can put that together so easy, and that's why those guys are so tight. They're like airtight when it comes to that situation,
Indeed.
and
Yes.
even with the different personnel that they've come down through the years, you know, from the different musicians, especially guitar players, has changed over time with that group. Uh, the thing is, they still sound like they were together for like 50 years. You know what I'm saying? It
Uh,
doesn't matter. And like you were saying, like you were touching on uh, your group. And now, how long has your group been together with you since you've been?
we've been together, I'd say, maybe 10 years now.
Well, see, that makes a difference, you know, because
Mhm.
when you can get that kind of commitment out of individuals, and see, the thing is, they want to be there. So,
Ex-
you know,
yeah.
it's not like they're looking for the next big explosion from somebody else's group. You know, they're looking to build what you have, and they're working on what you have. So that's why your group is successful in that, you know, in that area. Now, what about do you have like a preference, let's say it like that, for the type of instrument that you have? Like I know some guys want to play a particular horn because they feel that that particular horn can express them better, or is it just that your technique has to be built to a point to where, regardless of what horn you pick up, you can still sound like yourself?
Yes. Well, I've always been dibbling and dabbling with different horn, doing equipment and mouthpieces and all that. So um, I'm usually looking for the most efficient thing to play. And see, here's another thing too. As you know, I had a health challenge uh, 10 years ago now. I had open heart surgery. So I have a mechanical heart valve, and I had to put the horn down. And uh, then I had, started back over slowly, but surely to get everything back. So I'm always looking for the most efficient equipment that I can find to express myself, because I want it, because of the musicians that I have in my head that I listen to, Freddie Hubbard, Wynton Marsalis, Roy Hargrove, Dizzy, you know, Lee Morgan, Clifford Brown, and even though I am not, I don't consider myself a jazz, a straight ahead jazz guy like that. I like that cleanness and purity of sound.
Right. Now
And
that
also too, to back up a minute, you're talking about the personnel with the group. I just thought of something too. The personnel is a little bit different. It evolved a little bit different from some of the personnel on the album. And the keyboardist is James Sharp, a good friend of mine, very good keyboardist and vocalist as well. James Sharp, and he's a great writer too. So we play a lot of his tunes on the CD, on the new CD. James Sharp with A Sharp Affair, and who else we got? Space Bass, Al Space Bass Lee, real funky bass player, you know, and he has this spirit that keeps the band up too, and that's the other thing that we like about him too. And other than his phenomenal bass playing.
now where can the audience actually go to hear your music? What platforms are you using?
Oh, you can go on YouTube. You can go to Randy Skinner YouTube page, or you can go to CD Baby, Skin Tones in Pursuit gmail.com.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. So Vaughn, do you have anything else? Any other questions?
I would just want to ask Randy, are you still keeping it on the one, Randy?
I'm still keeping it on the one. Yes, I am.
Good.
Yes,
Say that.
from the great George Clinton. Yes, I am. And
I love
Boots.
that. Good,
Yeah.
good.
But you were doing some things when they came through town a couple of times, right? You got back in with them.
Yes, well, one of the Hall of Fame members of P-Funk, Cordell Boogie Mawson, was a very, very dear friend of mine. In fact, before I moved to Atlanta from Boston, I came here, and he invited me to come and stay with him. So I came to stay with him, and just looked around Atlanta and everything, and looking at a place that I would want to move to live. He said, once a P-Funk All-Star, always a Funk All-Star. And he was very profound with one phrase sayings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, man. Now,
But yeah, to answer your question too, yes, they was at Cobb Energy Center, and this was billed as the last performance before George Clinton retired, even though they did come back one time after that. So I went to Cobb Energy Center and played with them, and it's such a great place to play, Performing Arts Center. That was really, really, really nice.
Oh yeah, but I know that now that you have your unit and your group out there now, do you guys are you going to be doing any streaming this year, or are you going or do you already have something you're streaming out? Concerts?
We don't. Well, we had stuff that we got live performance footage that we had before the pandemic that the audience can view.
Okay, and that
And
same thing through YouTube, right?
that's on YouTube. Yeah, it's on YouTube. And also, I mean, there's footage up there with me with George Clinton as well too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, where can the audience they can contact you? If they need to respond to you or try to really get more in depth about you, can you give them the sites or platforms that you're able to be contacted through?
Yes. Well, my email address is skintones12@gmail.com. SKINTONES, skintones, and the number 12@gmail.com.
Okay. And Vaughn, you can always let the people know how to get in touch with you.
Absolutely. It's jazzbeatsradio.com. That's the Jazz Beats Radio webpage with all the information you want to know about Jazz Beats Radio, including other artists, all the artists that we play on the radio station, and also highlights events that are coming up, probably updated up to 2021. So hopefully we'll be able to get out there and start hearing some live music again next year. I'm hoping so too. And also you can also reach me at my Twitter page at Soulscapes. And I just started my YouTube page. It's Jazz Beats Soulscapes on Jazz Beats Radio. It's Soulscapes on Jazz Beats Radio, where you can catch some of my videos in studio. Also, our shows on the web page as well, on the YouTube page as well. Yes, Jazz Matters interview podcast, and so it's a it's a great thing for me to get that established, so people can go to that as well and find out about the radio station, the music that I play, the culture of jazz or soul, whatever you want to call it, and just trying to re-educate and reestablish this music as it is true position as being America's original art form.
Right. And you can, of course, you can always grab a hold of me at yesjazzmatters.org. That's jazzmatters.org. And you can find out pretty much anything about the organization. It is a 501c3 organization, so we do take donations. And the Jazz Matters, you can go to Jazz Matters website also. We're grand opening for the T-shirts that Vaughn is waving there. And but we just opened a store, and we just had the grand opening. So you go there and check it out. You can also go to the Jazz Matters on YouTube, on the YouTube page, and also open up the link where it sends you to the grand opening of the Jazz Matters store. And we have T-shirts, we got sweatshirts, hoodies, coffee mugs. So, and you can purchase those things right there through the website. And if Vaughn, go ahead and model that for us again. You know, you was a good model. Yeah, you did real good. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I like that.
Oh man, yeah, that's good. But yeah, like I said, you know, and we're having fun with that, believe it or not. And so I know that Randy's going to order about 12 shirts, a couple of sweaters, a couple of sweatshirts, and so forth. But like I said, you can go to the web page, and you could also donate to the podcast, which is you know, you could go through jazzmatters.org, and you can basically get to any page from there that we're dealing with. And once you get there, you know, just go right there to the new products and so forth that we're having. So Randy, man, thanks for doing this, man. Yeah, you know, we've been back and forth trying to get this thing started for a few days, you know.
Yeah.
But I finally caught you not being in the same place that I always catch you in.
Yeah, that's a good place. Working out.
That was coincidence. I can't swear every time, you know.
Yeah, and let me say this too on this podcast too, Edwin Williams, the great bruh. I want to thank you so much for inviting me to do this, because this footage right here is great to have in the archives, you know, for people, you know, to look at and to, you know, hopefully get something from that they could use, you know, on something that that's enlightening to them. And speaking of being enlightened, I believe that you and I met at the Musicians Club with Al Mitchell and Joe Arnold and everybody.
Right. Yeah, because when you told me you hung around Virginia Beach, I said I already know what this guy's into.
And I want to say this too. At the Musician Club, it was a one-of-a-kind place, a beautiful place, and that's not happening anymore. But when you came in, it was a whole different vibe. It was open mic jam session for people that don't know. So it was open mic jam session for everybody. And no one came through the door with an upright bass other than the great Edwin Williams.
Oh yeah, I was.
So when I saw you coming in with the upright, I said, oh, wow, okay, yeah,
yeah.
I really appreciate that. And people appreciate it too, because everybody, you know, most people came, you know, with electric bass,
right?
You know, also you do play electric,
right?
But you came, you know, and it was, you know, a chance for people that love, you know, that acoustic, you know, upright bass sound, you know, or people that know about, you know, Paul Chambers, you know, and Charles Mingus and Ron Carter, right. You know,
say Edwin came in. Edwin came in channeling Milt Hinton.
There you go. Yeah.
Hey man, and the weird
channeling is a key word. Yeah, and he did that very well.
Yeah, and you know what the weird thing was? It had never dawned on me that I was doing something that they weren't accustomed to seeing coming through there. I just went in there, and that's what I was doing before I got there. And I would leave Dante's and come up there, and I come up there, and I had my instrument. So you know, it wasn't a big deal to me, you know. I was just, this is what I do, you know. But at the same time, like you said, I also I started carrying an electric bass up there also, just to not pigeonhole myself. You know what I'm saying? Just to make sure that they understand that, oh, wait a minute, there's two sides to this coin here, you know. And if you want the electric stuff, I got that for you too. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, but it was cool, man. So, but Randy, like I said, man, it was great chatting, man, and everything. And I do hope that because I got a lot out of what you said, so I know that the audience will also. And we'll have you back on, man, and we're going to try to make sure that I can get you into that the streaming loop that we're getting ready to do, and you guys come and perform and everything. So we're going to see much more of each other. You know, right now I'm off the road and everything, so you know I got plenty of time to think, you know, and focus. So you know that is one of the things that I'm going to be doing. But like I said, just go to the Jazz Matters website, which is yesjazzmatters.org. And we're opening we just opened the online store, the grand opening. We're celebrating about this, and just enter the store, the online store, and you can see what all products we have. All right, Randy, until I see you again, have a nice one, man.
Peace.
Thank you, Randy.
I like to sign off with peace, and I want to thank you and Vaughn for having me. And I got my best friend right here, so I'm gonna if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna sign off with peace.
Oh, sign off, peace.
Sign off,
the great Horace Silver.
There you go. Well, with the great Randy Skinner.
Peace.
All right, peace.
All right.
All right.
That worked for me.
Thank you, man. Thanks a lot.
All right.
All right,
Cool.
peace.
All right.
All right, we out. And that's it. That was the great Randy Skinner. So we'll come back and we'll air this on let me see if I can find a date. Well, I'll get it back out to you, but it will be in late November when we air. Okay.
Good.
All right, Randy. Let me sign off, and I'll go back at you. Peace, man.
All right. Peace and blessing.
Peace.
Okay, you good?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, I get you to model that T-shirt again.
Yeah, I ain't got no problem with that, bro.
Yeah. Put it up there close. I don't know, for some reason I can't get mine. For some reason I can't get mine out there.
Yeah, I'm just sitting kind of low, but you know, it works. I love this T-shirt.
Yeah, man. And
I'm
not. That's called what's that type of drawing called? This is like a sketch.
It's almost anime, really.
Yes,
it's anime.
Yeah, it's cool. So.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there that like know these two handsome guys on the T-shirt, you know, go ahead to Yes Jazz Matters and order it. You know what I'm saying? That's about it.
It's please don't look at no post office most wanted signs and think no, I don't.
Nah. Now you did it. Okay. now you did it.
I know.
Anyway, we'll go ahead and Randy was a great friend, and it happened just like he said it would. You know, it was it was one of those things where, you know, hold on a second. Vaughn, I think yours had cut off.
Has it?
Yes.
But you can still hear me though, right?
I can hear and see you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine's cut off. Yeah.
Okay, you good though. Yeah, we went back and he brought something back to mind about that incident when I walked into the musicians club, you know, because realistically it was a place where you know, you could play anything, but the majority of the musicians that came through were either blues players or, you know, rhythm and blues players.
Fusion musicians and
Yeah, it had
like
those
that.
two. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I went in there, it was like everybody was like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people hadn't really I didn't realize how many people were not exposed to it.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So it was interesting to me. So
Yeah.
what we'll do, man, is now that we have a couple other dates up our sleeve, so to say,
Right.
we'll get back with the people and just let them know that they can go to the grand opening and of the online store for Jazz Matters, and they could definitely go also and donate to the podcast that we're doing. You know,
Right.
and
Right.
like I said, we'll be having some more streaming stuff that we really are really happy now that we found a venue we can do that. And so we're going to really try to get right to work on it. So we'll
I
make
can't
sure
imagine what that's going to be. I mean, I'm sitting here realizing how many musicians we have talked to, we have interviewed that are going to be able to participate in that virtual venue and be able to hear live music. And I mean, you're going to be prepared to give them something that they would never have imagined. And it's just going to be so off the chain when it happens.
And I'm really going to try to get a lot more of the younger musicians, the youth musicians and so forth, to you know, actually give them the exposure and give them the opportunity for this type of format, you know, because there are a lot of them around, because there are a lot of them that, like, even like Randy said, he's teaching, you know, also,
Right.
and he has a lot of young students. So we'll probably end up with a very large pool of young musicians that we can expose to this platform. And it'll be very interesting for the public to really understand and see the direction that they really want to go in and how much they're really putting into it to try to make it work. And we can now also support them whenever we see their names or hear about them, you know.
Right.
We'll try to definitely make sure that happens with some urgency, you know, because we really want to get all this done by the end of the year.
Okay.
All right. So
Yeah.
let me go ahead and sign out before it kicks me off.
Okay.
And we'll talk back in a little
Oh,
bit.
no doubt about it. And tell Janice I said happy birthday.
Oh, okay. Well, I was looking around my shoulder. You saw me, didn't you? All right, man. All right, okay. I'll holler at you.
Peace.
Peace.